going to take a quick pause and look at some questions that have come in so far in the Slido. We have about 19 minutes left in the hour. I don't know if either of you have had a chance to look at this. We have a question from Leo. He said, if we have had this inflation bump, and you're right, and we shouldn't expect it to go back down, does that mean we should take our retirement target goal and increase it by 25%? For example, I had been figuring I'd need $3 million to retire. Should I now figure I'll need $3.75 million? Do either of you guys have thoughts on this?
I'm too young for this question.
And I'm too inexact. I'm not a planner, like that. I mean, 3 million sounds like a lot. I think you're good to go with 3 million. If you get 3 million, I'd be happy with that. I could live on 3 million. I know I could. I feel confident that I could make it on 3 million. So I definitely wouldn't pull out and go to cash, not with inflation as bad as it is. I mean,
right.
Again, I like Schwab. So if you don't have Schwab, you might think of adding some Schwab. So that was my one little nudge for the upcoming, Schwab, when it was early in the 21st century, it was like from 2000, I forget the time frame, might have been 1995 to 2005 or 1997 to 2007, but there was a time in there, that 10-year period, where Schwab was the best stock in the market. And it can happen because Schwab is just amazing when you're in that rising interest rates environment. And if we're shifting into that, so if the next 10 years is an environment where rates kind of go up a little bit, Schwab is just a beautiful stock for that. I mean, again, 7 trillion assets under management. They don't pay a lot of interest because these are all trading accounts, stock accounts, so they pay very little interest out. So any slight increase in interest rates just means a lot, billions to Schwab. So, if you see, sometimes Charles Schwab writes an editorial in the New York Times or something and says, hey, we should raise interest rates. It always kind of cracks me up a little bit. I'm like, yeah, that's so nice of you, Chuck. Yeah, I get why you'd like him to go up. I never want him to go up, but we might have to do something. I mean, inflation's bad. I say from a dark room, inflation is bad.
From the dark room. What about you, Connor? Do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, I guess I can add to this a little bit. So in the 70s, I believe the 70s was one of the worst inflationary decades that we've experienced. And stock market, by percentage, like if you just look at the performance of the stock market in the 70s, it was really good. But you have to take into account what inflation did. And so inflation ate away at a lot of those gains. But the people that stayed invested throughout the 70s ended up okay. And I think that's a lesson that you can learn from that, is staying invested is important. Obviously, taking out and pulling to cash is probably not a great idea for an inflationary environment. And we also, you predict inflation will go up, but you don't know what industries inflation is going to affect and what industries deflation is going to affect. And so you have like the Michael Burry versus the Cathie Wood argument, and people are talking deflation or inflation. And what I think the true answer to that debate is somewhere in the middle. I think that commodities might experience a lot of inflation. And then I think that a lot of tech might experience some deflation. And then I think there might be a mix somewhere in the middle. And I think, so trying to say, oh, I'm expecting inflation to be 25% in the next 5 years, and I'm trying to retire, so I need to increase my retirement by 25%. I mean, it's just it's difficult to quantify what that's going to be, so it's hard.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, no, I agree. And obviously everyone's retirement goals look different, and everyone has a different amount they're targeting and they're comfortable with. And so I think the kind of important points here is, we would say, as a takeaway, is, staying invested through the tough times is very important. Not trying to time the market, or certainly cash out when things are bumpy, is very important as well.